All right, welcome to Talk-Jitsu with host Uki Mike, Joey Boretski, and me, Jordan Preisinger from Jordan Teaches Jiujitsu. Today we have a great episode for you guys today, and what we're going to talk about is the pros and cons of each guard. So super interesting topic. I think we're going to go over every guard, every one we can think of, and talk about the pros and cons and that kind of stuff. But first, we're going to start with a story from Joey. Joey's been competing all the time recently and doing very well, which is awesome to see. And he's got an interesting tournament story for us today, and we haven't heard it yet. Like me and Mike haven't heard it yet, so we're excited to hear it. Take it away, Joey.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I competed again this past weekend that just went by. Won my match again, but my biggest takeaway and the thing all my team was congratulating me on is I didn't get in a fight with another coach.
Nice.
Which is funny because the weekend before, I almost did. I don't know what it is, man, but like I guess I just like upset people by existing. I think my mere presence is upsetting to people. I don't think I'm an asshole, but maybe I am. I'll let you guys tell me later if you think I am off the podcast. But I meant to tell it last weekend, but the tournament we did last weekend, one of my guys had he was competing. I think it was for the gold medal or something. He had the guy's back, took him down, took his back, had it for like 2 minutes, had the ankles crossed at the start, uncrossed them for like 25 seconds. Scramble happens, loses the back, takes it again. Same thing, ankles crossed for a bit, uncrosses them. I'm coaching a different student on a different mat. That match finishes, I come over, and the score's 0-0. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, my guy should be up 10-0. And I kind of like tell the ref, I'm like, hey, well, where are the points? And now the ref is a blue belt at a local gym. She's actually really nice. She's young. I think she's a really good person. Never said anything like personal to them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. Like, I never insulted her. I never called her any names. It was just like, hey man, like, where are the points for my guy? He's up like, he should be up 10 and it's 0-0. Like, what's going on here? And there was like an argument about who, like what points should be scored and what the rules should be. And I'm like, eventually it was like, whatever, get it going. The other guy got 2 points. So there's 30 seconds left. My guy's down 2, should be up 8. Easy win, ride out the clock. He takes a chance, ends up getting tapped. But I'm like, I'm frustrated because I'm like, my guy should be winning. And the way you approach a match changes if you're up 8 points versus down 2 points. Like, it's a different match now. Like, if I have 30 seconds left and I'm down 2, I have to force action that maybe isn't there. Whereas if I'm up 8, I'll let you come to me. Like, I'll let you make mistakes. And so I was getting pretty heated about, like, come on, like, this is, not working well. And her coach happened to be sitting on the other side of me. And he told me to shut the fuck up for coaching my guy. And I didn't handle it well. I may have told him that I would slap him. But at the same time, like, I thought it was just interesting. Like, if it's your student reffing and they do a shit job reffing and another coach is calling them out on doing a shitty job in a match, you as the coach, like, that, you're not their coach right now. They're doing a job. You know what I mean? Like, if one of my students is reffing and does a piss poor job and a coach yells at them, I can't be like, hey, that's my student. Like, fuck off. Like, I'm going to defend them. Like, no, they're doing a job and they're doing it poorly. So I thought it was just funny for someone to, like, get so heated about, like, me calling out their student for doing a bad job reffing, because, like, as a ref, when I do a bad job, I want people to call me out, because that's a learning experience. That's an experience where I can look at, like, what did I do? What did I screw up? Was I wrong? Did I maybe make a mistake that I can not make in the future? And things got pretty heated. So the relationship with that gym is not particularly great anymore. But that didn't happen last weekend. No one got mad at me. Nice and easy.
Nice. Was the relationship like fine before then, and then now it's not good, or you guys didn't really know each other, and then now it's just total shit?
I beat him in a tournament, and I don't think he's liked me since then. Like, it is what it is. I don't know. Maybe he liked me, maybe he didn't. I always just got this vibe that he didn't like me, and then after last weekend, now I definitely know he doesn't like me. But at the same time, it's like, hey man, I'm signed up to compete every weekend. If you really don't like me, like, look at all these divisions I'm in. Like, I'm competing again this upcoming weekend. competing the one after that, like you can sign up anytime, man.
Yeah, I mean, we do the perfect sport to settle it, right? It's like if you have a problem with someone, we can settle it on the mats. Like we don't have to, hurt each other, but we can, see who's like the better grappler. And definitely, reffing is very hard. Like, I reffed like the combatives tournament for the military, and I made mistakes, and people did get, mad at me at times. But if it was me that made I made the mistake, I can acknowledge that. It's like, how can I really feel bad if they're calling me out on that? It's like, if you're making mistakes, someone needs to tell you, especially if it impacts the match like that. Like not getting points for the bag, that's that's like pretty detrimental. So
can you be ejected from the match as a coach by the ref?
Probably.
For sure. Yeah, you can.
Definitely. So if you're lipping off to the ref or the other coach, they can just say "fuck off, get out."
Probably.
Yeah. It depends. Well, it depends like how bad you are for sure. If you're like really causing a stink, then yeah, definitely it's going to be. They can eject you for sure, and some people should like deserve to be ejected and have been ejected. That's unfortunate. Drama's never fun, and so I hate drama like that. I try to avoid it as much as I can, but the same kind of thing happens to me where I feel like sometimes people just don't like me, and especially now with the YouTube channel and stuff like that. Like some people, like I just accept that people don't like me. I'm sure most people do, like overall, but I kind of get the sentiment that people in Ontario, in Canada here, like a lot of black belts are kind of, I don't know, I think they're jealous a little bit of like my success, and they like think I'm scared, and that's why I don't compete, because I'm scared, and I don't know, but it's like, you guys, if you have a problem with me, just start your own YouTube channel and be more successful than me. The best revenge is success, and so it can go both ways. If they want revenge, get success. And for me, like feeling like some don't like me, well, I'm doing well, so I get revenge over them. Who's really winning there? So,
and I'm sure the door is always open every Saturday if anybody wants to come and roll.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I promote all the time that we have open mats available to everyone, and I'll roll with anyone, no problem, and on camera. So if any of these black belts think I'm scared, just come to the gym. It's only an hour and a half from Toronto. Let's roll. Let's have some fun, and we'll be friends after and before. But because I think sometimes people, they get in their head where this person's this certain way or this and that. But once you roll and you just kind of settle things, you realize we have the same interests. We all love jiu-jitsu, and we're all like, I'm a chill person. Like people get to know me in real life. I feel like sometimes people, just in general, like they get this like misconception that maybe, I don't know, they have it in their head I'm a dick or something, or I'm super like cocky or whatever. I don't think I come across that way, but once they get to know me, they see, oh, Jordan's pretty chill, and it's good to go. I feel like people on Reddit, I can feel like a minority at least, like don't like me. Sometimes people will say something nice about me, and it'll get downvotes, or someone will like write some shit. But it's like, well, why don't you like me? And I'm not like complaining about it. Just like, why? Like, what is the reason? What reason have I given you? But I think it's because I'm not this like top competitor, so like I don't deserve the notoriety and all this stuff. But it's whatever. It doesn't bother me anymore. But I do acknowledge that it exists, so it doesn't. It's not a big deal.
Well, you did compete quite recently. It was less than a year ago?
Yeah, I competed a year ago, and before that, I competed all the time. Like I was a competitor before I was ever a coach, and that was my main thing. Like competing all the time, like Joey is now, and having a lot of success, and beating some of the top dudes in Canada. Losing to some of them too, but then also avenging those losses in many cases. And I'm not just like someone that just started only coaching, never competed. I competed first, and then it was the pandemic that really screwed me in the sense of like I just kind of lost motivation to do it.
Because you had a couple of big fights lined up right before the pandemic hit. Were you supposed to fight Oliver Taza?
Yeah, we were supposed to do a rematch. It was like scheduled for April 2020, and then obviously March 2020 was the pandemic, so that really sucked. And I was excited to go against Oliver because I beat him in the gi at blue belt, which is at blue belt, and he was having a lot of success at this time, like really building a name for himself. So we were going to do a rematch, and I was excited for that because he was like a big name. And I wanted to prove I can do it again, and then it never happened. And people are telling me, like, watch out for his leg locks, this and that. Almost like, just disregarding the fact that, that I could beat him too. Like, I don't know why, like some people, they just have in their head, they put people on pedestals. It's like, he's going to leg lock me and stuff. Well, I'm confident in my leg lock defense, and I'm confident in my leg locks too. So let's go in there, have a good time. But yeah, it never happened. Maybe it happened one day. Oliver's a nice guy. I talked to him after the match way back when in blue belts, and we got along pretty well. So I don't want to sound like I'm saying anything negative at all. He's a great dude, and I would love a rematch one day. But yeah, right now the priorities aren't competing. The priority right now is just getting healthy. Like I just talked about before, like my stomach issues and whatnot. And I'm seeing a naturopath, and they're trying to help me. We're gonna do a stool test, so I gotta poop into like a sample box or whatever, and then send that somewhere. They're gonna test like my bacteria and whatnot, and I'm really excited to see the results. I'm not excited to poop into something and like have to like stir it around and smell it, everything. I've never done anything like that before, so that should be pretty interesting. And so.
When it comes to Reddit, maybe I'm a boomer, but it just scares the shit out of me. I don't know what it is about Reddit. It reminds me of like 4chan or 8chan for some reason, and I never go on there, which I should. That's where all the things are. But you kind of talked me into it today, so I'll go on there. And maybe it's a little bit of fear of finding out people don't like me or something like that. I really don't care, but it's when it's right in front of your face, it's kind of it can sting a bit.
Yeah, it can take a while to get used to learning how to use Reddit. And I've been on Reddit since like day one. I was a white belt. So I'm not just, it's because some people post there, like some content creators, and they post there only to promote their stuff. And I was like accused of that a couple times from people, which isn't a big deal. But like, it's like, no, guys, I've been on Reddit since like day one, and been a Redditor, mostly a lurker. Like I don't post a whole lot. Sometimes I do. But yeah, definitely can be a super toxic community where, yeah, you gotta. I don't know. I like going on there and seeing if anyone mentions me, and then if they do, usually I'll write back or just see what they say, and usually it's always good stuff. Always like good reviews for the course, which I always super love seeing. Like I would die if someone said they hated the course. It was awful. But so far so good. But yeah, always what follows me around is the same comments every time that I'm monotone. And I've talked about it on the podcast before. It used to bother me a lot more than it does now. It doesn't super bother me anymore, but I am trying to inflect more. So I told them one of the people, I'm going to try my best this podcast to have the most energy I've ever had. I said try is the key word. So yeah, guys, let me know how I'm doing. Am I being very inflecting, or am I talking like this? So I don't think I'm as monotone as I used to be, or I'm even that monotone. I don't know. It's whatever. It's not a big deal.
If you listen to your first YouTube videos compared to now, I'm not saying that you were, but your voice is different now than it used to be. You can compare. There's an A/B comparison for sure. Yeah,
I've gotten better at reading out loud while still sounding clear, because the hard part is reading out loud and being clear. And because it's hard not to put words together, which I still do. So the whole thing's hard, but I'm improving. Now people say I up inflect too much, because I feel like I use that to combat being monotone. I end up going up, and then they complain about that. So it's like you can't win, but I'm trying not to do that. But then when I down inflect, then I get vocal fry. So you can kind of hear. I didn't actually do it good there, but yeah, then I get vocal fry, which pisses me off. I hate when I get vocal fry. But anyways, I won't complain too much. That was my rant. That's all I'd say about that, because I don't want to talk every other podcast about how it hurts my feelings. People say I'm monotone, but it doesn't anymore. It used to. It used to bother me, but it's all good now. So anyways, with that said, now it's time to get into the good stuff. So the pros and cons of each guard. So we'll start with closed guard, because closed guard is an easy one to start with, because I don't know. Let's start with you, Joey. What do you think about closed guard? Do you like it? What are the pros and cons? Yeah.
So we had to start with my least favorite guard. I hate closed guard. I think like the pros of closed guard are going to be pretty easy. You have control of your opponent's torso. Like I have, my inside position. Like I have the control. I can hold you in place. I can kind of manage range relatively well. Like I can pull you in with my knees. You can push from closed guard. My hands are still free. You're kind of locked in there. I'm not going to say it's a bad guard. It's just I find it boring. personally. Like it's just not fun for me to watch. But it does have a lot of pros, like the control definitely, and the ability to control posture, move around, you're safe. It's hard to pass a closed guard compared to a lot of open guards because you can't just like fall to a pass. You have to actually like break the guard basically. Cons for it are going to be, in my opinion, it's not a dynamic guard. It's a really static guard. You're kind of stuck in one position. And for you to really enact any sort of offense, you have to open up, which is going to be the opportunity for your opponent to escape. Like the first step in basically every technique from closed guard is open your guard. Like anytime I'm teaching a technique and I'm in closed guard, the first step is always, I'm going to open my guard. And people always ask me like, well, if the first step is to open the guard, why didn't I just have the guard open? I'm like, control, I guess, temporarily. So it's not a dynamic guard. It would definitely be like the biggest cons. And it's really boring to watch. So if I'm a referee, you're going to get penalties for stalling because you're going to bore me. But other than that, mostly pros.
Yeah,
It's definitely where I feel the most safe is the closed guard. And weirdly enough, it's the position where I've choked more people unconscious from is closed guard.
yeah, it's the most safe because first the person has to break closed guard, and then they need to pass closed guard. So it's hard to break closed guard. So you can really stall people and slow down the match. And to your point of they're asking like, why not just have it open in the first place? But it's almost like having the back when you have a seatbelt grip, right? You're not going to submit them with the seatbelt grip. You have to open it up to start getting underneath the neck or going for whatever you're going for. So you control first, and then you go for your attack. And you shouldn't just keep it open because then they can pass a lot easier. So to answer those students' questions, and definitely the pro is control, slowing it down, and the cons is that it's also kind of slow for you because if someone's like doing a good job controlling and keeping good posture, then it's going to be hard to get anything going. So I find the most success I have in closed guard is if I don't do like kind of what I do now, which is like more methodical, flowing and whatnot. But instead I go like I'm going for it. So I'm really attacking fast and trying to get them. I think like that's the best way to approach closed guard. You can't like take it slow. You need to like be boom, 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 because otherwise it can be too slow. You need to like change it from like a slow paced type of roll to like faster when you're in closed guard. But to your point, Joey, so you're saying, do you agree that closed guard is inside position?
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think it is. I mean,
thank you.
You've got access to everything you need. Like you have access to the torso, you have access to the inside. Like it is. I mean, I don't think I can argue it anymore. I think it definitely is.
So Danahar's wrong. Perfect. That's what I like to hear. Nothing against Danaher. Nothing against him. I just, I like when people agree with my definition of inside position, and I think that it's clearly inside position. So that's good to know. And like another pro of closed guard is that you can attack them, but they can't really attack you. Like their options are very limited, but you have like sweeps and submissions, but their primary objective is to break the closed guard and then pass the closed guard. And that's the way it should be thought of, because that's what it really is. So you break it and then you can pass it different ways, but because it's not really a clear closed guard itself pass, like sort of like a toesy pass somewhat is, but there's still different ways of actually passing it, like backstepping or kind of going to like half guard or whatnot. Like, yeah, so that's the pros and cons of closed guard. It's great for beginners. Sorry, go ahead.
Would you say closed guard is the safest guard?
Yeah, it's the safest guard because like your legs are closed and you're inside their legs, and they're inside your legs, and it's like it's hard to break that grip. Like anytime someone has grips connected together, so like I call it reinforced grips, it offers immense control. So like a Kimura grip or a body lock, like those are all really great ways to control. And the way you don't get controlled is you don't let them reinforce their grips like that. And because closed guard, they do have that. It's just very safe. It's very controlling. But that's the thing. People need to keep people from putting them in closed guard. People just so easily go into the closed guard like it's no big deal, but you're creating extra steps for yourself. So you need to stay out of closed guard, and so you can pass easier, so you can avoid one step. Like, I never will want to go in someone's closed guard. Like, I always make sure I stay out of there, and it makes life so much easier.
Yeah, and to build off that, sorry, Mike,
No,
I
go
think
ahead.
a lot of people ask me, like, how do you pass closed guard? I'm sure it's a question like, how do you open a guard? And my biggest thing is, like, if you can prevent them from actually closing the guard, it will change your life because you don't have to worry about opening it. One of the big things is if you never put both knees on the mat, it's almost impossible to get caught in a closed guard.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to stress to people to stay off their knees as much as possible because, yeah, closed guard's available, other stuff is available. You don't have the ability to drive into your opponent, so being on your knees in general is not a great idea when passing. And even like if someone's trying to submit you, so someone gets like an arm bar or triangle on you from closed guard, you need to right away get to your feet so you can actually drive into them. So just in general, it's a bad idea to be on your knees like 90% of the time. Like 10% is fine, but 90% is bad. But yeah, we'll go from closed guard to half guard. So I would say the pros of half guard is that the objective for the guard player is kind of clear defensively. Like make sure you protect your head, make sure you stop them from getting the underhook. And because it's kind of easy that way, if you avoid those two things, then pretty much you're good to go defensively. And there's a lot of different options offensively. So you have, you can attack one arm, the other arm, you can attack the head, you can go like, guillotine, stuff like that. There's so many different sweeps available, different attacks available. And I would say the con is that they can stand up pretty much any time unless you're using lockdown. So that's a con. And they should stand up. Like if you're in someone's half guard, it's usually easier for you to stand up and work to get upper body grips first and then get to your knees once you have those.
Not to go on too much of a side note, but I noticed you used lockdown in your last video. And I noticed that it wasn't referenced at all.
Yeah.
It made me a bit sad inside.
Yeah. So like he's a big boy. So I did this roll with this 300-pound white belt, but he's not necessarily a white belt because he's been training 15 years.
He didn't move like a white belt.
Yeah, he didn't move like a white belt because how can he be a white belt when he's been training 15 years, no-gi and wrestling, like Greco-Roman wrestling and MMA, Sambo. Like, you're not a white belt. So I didn't even talk about him being a white belt because I figured, well, first off, I don't want to write too much when I write these scripts because I don't want it to be a freaking 15-minute video and make it hard and slow it down. So that's one thing. But I used lockdown to slow him down a bit because I was getting very tired and I was worried. They passed my guard, so I need to just like control him first. Like kind of get my my wits about me and figure out how I'm gonna sweep this dude because it's very hard to sweep someone that big and very hard to submit them too. And so I used it for a split second for sure.
That makes my heart feel good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, what do you think pros and cons of half guard are? Joey?
Half guard, like honestly, half guard is one of my favorite guards, both to play and to watch. The reason being, half guard, in my opinion, is really what I like to call a skill check position. When you're playing half guard, both players have very clear avenues of offense and defense. Like it's like you said, it's very clear what the person on top wants to do. I want to control the inside position. I want to get head position, maybe even chest to chest. I might want to get on my feet, and I want to start passing. It's very clear. There's a lot of ways to do it. And on the bottom, same thing. Like the big thing for me from half guard is like there is always going to be a battle for the grips, especially that underhook. The underhook is really important for both players. Because of this and because of both players having offensive and defensive options, usually just whoever's better at that position is going to win. And I know that sounds silly to say, and obviously people are going to be like, yeah, whoever's better at the position will win, but that's not the case for other positions. So like, let's say the back. You might be really good at back escapes, and I might be worse at controlling the back than you are at escaping the back, but I'll probably still win just because the back is so inherently skewed towards the person who has the back. It's just that good of a position, whereas half guard is like not to be confused with the 50-50 guard. But I think half guard is a 50-50 guard where both players can easily win if they're better than their opponent in that position. It's a reason in our gym, like we spend more time in half guard, I think, than any other position, because if you can win those skill battles from half guard, man, your life is going to be so easy. It's a really common guard. People get back to it. Like when you're escaping side control or mount, like the easiest thing to get back to isn't full guard. It's half guard. So it's really important to have a good half guard. Pros and cons, man, it can be dynamic. It can be as dynamic as you want. Like you're not locked in there. You have the ability to move. It meshes very well with other guards. So if you like playing, say, half butterfly, deep half, you can go into things like lockdown. There are tons of options. Unlike close guard, I think wrestling up is more readily available from half guard. So you have another option of attack there. Subs, sweeps. Yeah, the pros are, it's a long list. You have tons of options. Cons, so does the person on top.
Yeah, I like what you said about it being 50-50 because it is. Because if you have equal amounts of inside position with your legs, and then what makes it advantageous for either player is if they get more inside position than the other with their arms. So I think that's really interesting because something that me and Joe talked about in our Wrestling for Jiu-Jitsu instructional, which is coming out probably October 15th. Well, no, it is coming out October 15th. I got to make sure it's done by then, but is avoiding 50-50 positions in wrestling, but it is a bit different on the ground. It is totally different on the ground. You don't want to avoid half guard. That's not what I'm saying, but you want to make sure you get more inside position than they do, which is achieved through getting grips with your arms. So yeah, I think that's a great point that it can be 50-50. So yeah, you got to make sure you get more. And another way of doing that is not just with your arms, but you use your arms to do this, is making sure that you pin your partner, like the bottom players, back to the mat. And for the bottom player, they want to make sure their back is not on the mat because that's inside position too. And if it's controlled by the mat, then that's more inside position control that the person on top has. But they can only achieve that through grips with their arms. So it's really a battle with the arms. But then you can get things like half guard butterfly, which increase the amount of inside position you have. So instead of that outside leg out there doing nothing, well, now it's doing something productive. It's going for butterfly guard, or knee shield too. It goes to the inside. It's controlling inside position. And then again, it's productive. But if you're just on your back and you don't have your outside leg doing anything, and then especially if your arms get controlled on the inside, well, shit, now it's a shit position for you because smashed half guard is not good. That's one of the best places to pass from and one of the worst places to be in on the bottom, because it's going to lead to them progressing to dominant positions like mount and side control. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite guards too, and one I teach the most too, because I tell my students it's not just called half guard because you have half your guard in there. I'd say it's because you're in there half the time, and whether it be the bottom or the top, which I do believe kind of 25 for both, which equals 50. It's for most people, at least. For me, I use a lot of half guard, so I like half guard a lot. So the next guard we should talk about would be, I don't know.
Can I ask something first?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So one of the safest guards we can agree on would be close guard. And then to transition to one of the most unsafe guards, for me anyways, I don't know about you guys, would be a K guard, which for me I find very unsafe because I'm half upside down. I'm controlling one leg. I'm trying to get into a leg lock position. I get smashed 90% of the time, especially if somebody's bigger than me. I can't seem to push them over with my leg.
Yeah, see, I like K guard, but I don't think that it should even be called a guard, because it's not really it's more like a transition to a knee bar, or yeah, pretty much.
So it's a transitional guard, you'd say?
I don't know.
You'd call it?
I just consider it a knee bar entry, really. What else can you really do with K guard? Is there anything else, Joey?
From K guard,
you go backside 50-50.
Yeah, you can go backside 50-50. There are definitely sweeps available. I think K guard's way more transitional than it is a guard that you sit in. especially when you compare it to like the other alphabet guards, like X Guard or Z Guard or stuff like that. Like, it's not something like when I go to K Guard, I don't go to K Guard thinking I'm going to go to K Guard, chill out here for 30 seconds while I set up an attack. It's usually I'm going to K Guard as a means to an end. It's a very transitional position where I'm transitioning there quickly to get a reaction to set up my thing. Whereas when you play something like X Guard, like I can hang out in X Guard for a minute, 2 minutes if I have to, waiting for the right opportunity, setting up my attacks. So I guess it is a guard, but I don't really view it that way. I view it more as like a position or like a transition.
Yeah, and what I would say if people, if people go wrong with K guard, like if you're having trouble with it, it's because the same thing. Your outside leg doesn't have inside position. So if you're underneath their arm, like underneath their armpit, you can very easily off balance them and enter into the knee bar or backside 50-50, which I'm not even sure what that is when I think about it. You got to show me because I can't really picture. I don't know all these like strange like terms nowadays, but yeah. Where people go wrong is not getting that arm, not getting underneath the armpit, because it provides so much leverage to knock them over because it's the end of the lever for their torso. So if you get that, then you're good to go. But if you don't have that, then it's more 50-50 or possibly even less if they start progressing their amount of inside position on you. So like, sometimes I have like tried anyways. Like I went to K guard, I couldn't get underneath the arm, and try anyways to get the knee bar or whatever. Does not work whatsoever. Or no, sometimes it does work anyways. Depends on their skill level. But yeah, you really have to prioritize getting underneath that arm. So many positions, it's like you need to prioritize certain things to make them successful. And if you don't prioritize them, then that's when you have issues. So yeah, make sure you get that outside leg underneath the armpit, and you'll be good to go.
Noted. I will do that.
So yeah, well, let's just go right into X Guard because we already kind of mentioned that, and that's my favorite guard. I would say the biggest con of it is that it's one of the hardest to enter into, where it's just less available. There's lots of different ways to enter it. Like basically, you need to bring yourself underneath your opponent, and you need to make sure they're standing up. So there's lots of ways to do that, and once you get better at entering X Guard and seeing the entries, it's a lot easier. But just in general, it's not like someone just walks into your X Guard unless they're terrible, but people will walk into your half guard no problem, or even sometimes close guard depending on their skill level. But yeah, I think that's the biggest con of X Guard. But once you're in there, you have so much inside position because you're with your legs, you're over top, you're in front of their knees. With your at least one arm, you're over top the knee, and then your other arm, once you can use that to get grips, if you do get a grip, then they're super screwed. But even without it, you can get a lot done with just those 3 inside position grips. So yeah, X Guard is my favorite because and you're directly underneath them, like so their weight is loaded onto your hips. So it's the best in my opinion. I say X Guard, best guard. But yeah, what do you think, Joey? Pros and cons?
X Guard is ironically also my favorite guard, but I think probably for different reasons. Like, I think it's interesting to hear, like, you say you have a hard time getting in there. I actually find X Guard.
I don't. Sorry, Joey. I don't have a hard time.
Yeah, you just think for other people, like it can't.
I think
be.
overall, for like compared to other guards, it's one of the harder ones to enter into. But I like because I like it because I use it. I can enter into it usually no problem. But yeah, sorry, keep going, Joey.
No, I do agree. Like for a lot of people, it's like, especially newer people, it can be conceptually hard to find ways in there. I have a super easy time. Like I'm not a particularly strong human or big human, but I am absurdly flexible. So for me, it's extremely easy. Like I actually get X Guard a lot when people are on one knee because I can just kind of like fold in half and fit underneath there. I don't know if that's necessarily the most reproducible strategy to enter X Guard, but it works for me. So it's one of the things that I really like. Yeah, I mean, you have X Guard pros. You're completely underneath your partner. I have complete control of both of your legs and your hips. And honestly, in a weird way, from X Guard, you kind of have control of their arms. Not in that I have grips on your arms, but that if I'm off balancing you through your legs and hips, the only way to stop yourself from falling over is by posting on the mat. And if you're posting, your arm's not doing anything except holding your weight. That's a type of control. One of the big things I stress in my gym is like, if you're ever having trouble fighting someone's arm or like they're getting a grip you don't like, if you can make them have to post it on the mat, that grip is now out. Like that arm is out of the equation. It's gone. It's doing something and it can't stop doing that thing or they fall. So you do have control of the arms in X Guard by virtue of being able to make them have to base. It's not a traditional control. So yeah, control is fantastic. There's plenty of sweeps. Cons from X Guard, not a ton of submission options available. Definitely more of a sweeping guard than it is a submitting guard. Not that there are none available. Obviously, there are. Every guard has entries into submissions, but either there just aren't that many, or they're going to be a couple extra steps to get there than they would be from, say, like something like a closed guard or a half guard, where submissions are pretty straightforward. Yeah, that would kind of be my opinion on X Guard.
I want to just expand on your point of when their arms are on the mat, it's that they're not doing anything like to you, almost like, because like when you need to isolate people's limbs, but isolation doesn't always mean that you're actually controlling them yourself. Because, for example, in a triangle, their other arm, their outside arm, can't really do anything productive to help. So in that sense, it's isolated. So and in other situations too, like if you can. If you're armbarring someone, well, maybe that's not a great example, but just in general, like you want to isolate, but again, isolation doesn't mean like complete control of it. It's just where it can't do anything productive to help in that situation. So, yeah, posting the hands on the mat can be very, getting them to do that can be very helpful to you, because now they're just supporting their weight rather than using it to control you or to defend and stuff like that. But Mike, do you use X Guard very often?
I'm opportunistic. I use it like I seem to fall into it quite a bit. I don't seem to set it up, but I seem to end up there quite a bit. Like Joey, I'm quite flexible for my age, and I can kind of scoot myself under fairly easy. And I like it. I like it setting up for reverse X and then into the saddle and stuff like that. I don't use it for as many sweeps as I should probably, but I use it like I just said, to get into leg locks.
Yeah, and all I mean by that, it's harder to enter into. It's like just basically that there's more steps. So like in half guard, if you want to go half guard butterfly, like the step is only really to bring your instep inside, and sometimes you need to shrimp to do that. But there's not like a bunch of steps involved. Or just say you're in the gi and you're playing sit up guard. You want to go to collar and sleeve. Well, you just grab the collar and sleeve, right? You want to go to lasso, maybe you have the collar and sleeve already. You just bring your foot over, boom, you're in lasso. It doesn't necessarily mean these things are easy to do. It just means that all I mean is X Guard is less accessible than like other guards, which are just a little easier to enter into. So that's all. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. And so let's go right into De La Hiva. So De La Hiva, it was like all the rage like back in the day when we and Joey started training, and people doing Baron-Bolos all the time, and excuse me, and it's still a good guard overall, but especially in no gi, it's not great. Way better in gi, and it's also not great for people with short legs. So like for me, it's hard to keep my inside leg framing on their thigh, because there's just not much like lower leg to be able to create distance. Or
same here.
Yeah, exactly. Or the whole leg in general. So it's very easy for them to step over, which isn't a huge deal because I have other guards available, like reverse De La Hiva and whatnot to go into. But in terms of De La Hiva itself, I can use it a bit, but yeah, someone, especially if they have long legs, it's going to be very hard guard to utilize. Plus, I think that there's not a lot of like sweep options. Like there is for sure, don't get me wrong, but I feel like they're very clear and defined almost. Like I know what someone's going to try to do. Like I know exactly what's trying to sweep or attack they're trying to do if I'm in their De La Hiva, because there's just not like 1,000 different things you can do compared to something like half guard. But I don't mean it's completely limited. Like there's nothing available. There's definitely some good attacks from there. But Yeah. What do you use Del Heave at all?
I don't use De La Riva very much at all. Like you said, I have very short legs, and I find it very hard, especially against people who have longer legs. And I feel my knee feels most compromised. I have bad knees, and when I'm trying to jam my leg up in there and trying to get it on their hip, my knee feels like it's going to fold sideways.
Yeah, I never see you use it. Do you use reverse De La
Reverse
Riva?
De La Riva I use a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think anyone with shorter legs, reverse De La Riva is going to be a better option, and we'll transition to talking about that in a second. But Joey, I don't think you. I could be wrong. I don't see you use De La Riva a lot either.
No, I use De La Riva exclusively for a position like deep De La Riva, so where that outside hook that goes on the thigh, you can extend it across to the front of the opposite leg, which is weird because I have really short legs, but I like that position for some reason. I don't think De La Riva is a particularly fantastic guard. I know some people will get mad and hate me for that statement, especially in no-gi. It's real hard to control. The partner on top can still be dynamic. There's a lot of passing options, especially for the leg lock game. Like your feet are pretty exposed. Your legs are pretty exposed. Gripping can be difficult. Even in the gi, like getting good grips from De La Riva can be hard just because of the distance between you. Like I have short arms. I can't reach people. I know I've seen a lot of people from De La Riva just say like, oh, just grab the collar or grab that. I'm like, man, my arm is like 2 feet long and he's like 5 feet away from me. There's no way I'm ever grabbing this. It's just not going to happen for me. So I don't like it. I use it. If I'm using De La Riva, it's because I'm panicking and I just need to buy some time to figure out what guard I actually want to play.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that for people with long legs, it can definitely be great. But we're like the short leg crew, I think all of us have shorter legs, and me and Joey have really long torsos. Like really, we're all like torso and no leg. But then Mike, you just I don't know.
I'm just short.
Yeah, you're just short.
Almost everywhere.
Short king. So yeah, but De La Riva can be great to enter into other guards. Yeah, for sure. Even entering into X guard can be very good, or if you're a Berimbolo guy. But yeah. I think another con of it is that, like for me as a passer, I feel like I never let people enter into De La Riva. Like all you have to do is turn your knee outward, and they can't get the De La Riva hook in. And where other guards can be a little harder to stop, I think, compared to De La Riva. So yeah, I think for many it's great, but for many it's also not great. But reverse De La Riva, I'm a bigger fan of that for sure, because it doesn't matter how long your legs are, unless there's certain sweeps you're trying to do, like that require leg length from there. But for me, my favorite sweeps are, I like putting my outside foot in as a butterfly hook, and like almost like using it as like butterfly guard, and I like that a lot. And it's just easy to enter into because so many people want to do a knee slide on you, and when they do, you just make sure you get your De La Riva hook. A reverse, yeah, well, it's a De La Riva hook, but it makes you a reverse De La Riva, and it can just be an easy guard to enter into. But yeah, what do you think? First, cons are that there's not a ton of like, well, basically no submission options, and not a ton of sweep options either. Like sometimes people think that, I don't know, they think that the Kiss of the Dragon is a lot more high percentage than it is, but I would say it's one of the least high percentage techniques from reverse De La Riva. There's a lot better options, but there's not a ton of options. But yeah, Joey, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I completely echo that statement. Like, fantastic guard. It's an exceptional counter to the knee slide, which is a really common pass. So it's a good thing to have in your arsenal there. Body type doesn't really tend to matter. It's good pro. Cons, not a ton of submission options, if any. Not many sweeping options. I actually really disagree about the Kiss of the Dragon. For me personally, again, because I'm so flexible, I can kind of just fold underneath people. Like I do it a lot when I get the reverse De La Riva hook and the other person drops their outside knee to the ground. I can still just kind of like weasel my way underneath. Again, not necessarily the most reproducible of strategies, but I look at it really as like a stopgap of a guard. Like I use it a lot when someone's really heavy pressuring, especially if they're heavy pressuring for a knee slide. Reverse De La Riva, another pro is that I can use that free leg to really make space. Like you said, you can put it in as a butterfly. I can put it on the hip and just simply push off and make space. You can put in a knee shield. I have the option to invert and then revert back through to just like a regular standard guard. It's a really good way to deal with pressure is what I would say the biggest like pro of it is.
Yeah, I would say one submission that's easier to enter into from there is the like inside saddle. So it's very similar to Kiss of the Dragon, where you kind of invert and then you switch your legs to go into the saddle. So I like that one a lot. That's one of my favorite attacks from there. And I think it's the only submission available. Like I could be wrong. Like I'd just not be thinking about what else is available. But yeah, I think what I kind of judge high percentage and lower percentage on is like what I have a hard time dealing with, like when people try to do on me and what I don't. Because I feel like with a Kiss of the Dragon, people try it on me, and all you have to do is really control that I guess it'd be the outside leg from coming in underneath you. And but yeah, maybe I'm just good at dealing with that. And then that's for people that's where you need to prioritize. So like I said before, like certain positions you need to prioritize certain things, and that's like the priority is like make sure that foot doesn't go underneath you, because once it does, that's when you're going to have a lot of problems. But yeah, it's I think there's better sweeps available than that one overall. But people like you, Joey, for sure, if you like are good at that and specialize in that, then that's gonna be a higher percentage for you than other ones. But kind of what I mean is that I think a lot of people, they kind of neglect other sweeps from there because they think that the Kiss of the Dragon is really cool, or they think that it's like a really like mainstay of the position. And not saying it's completely not. It's just like there might be other paths of least resistance for the majority of people than the Kiss of the Dragon, but definitely a cool one. But Mike, do you use reverse De La Riva? Do you use it mostly for like making space, or do you have certain sweeps you like to use?
Just mainly for one sweep that I use, basically, or to stop people from the knee slide, and then to try to readjust myself and then try to sweep them from there. Yeah, the one sweep that I use. Yeah.
What's your favorite sweep from there?
I don't know the name of it. Just
describe it to
reverse De La Riva sweep.
Yeah.
Where I grab their ankle and then it's like a tripod sweep.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what it is, a tripod sweep. That's one of my favorites too, from there. But that one's also one that can be helpful if you have long legs. Not saying it's not possible with short legs, but definitely if you have long legs, that's probably your best bet is to go like that tripod sweep for sure.
Yeah, I use that all the time.
So now let's go into collar and sleeve, which is gi specific. I've been mostly liking no-gi these days, but collar and sleeve is great because it's just such a transitional guard. You can go into lasso, you can go into I can't even think right now. Like others, you can go into De La Riva, reverse De La Riva. You can go into a bunch of other stuff, spider guard, and very transitional. And it's also really great for, like the A/B system of like their butt is down. You can go tripod sweep, their butts up. You go balloon sweep. And it can be very hard to pass the collar and sleeve when someone's very good at breaking posture and keeping their elbows tight as they're breaking their posture with their arms. Like Darren at the gym here, I do everything I can to not let him put me in collar and sleeve, because if he does, it's like very hard to deal with. Like, which again shows you like a lot of these positions you need to avoid in the first place. Like you need to avoid close guard because it's hard to get out, and collar and sleeve is the same thing. If they're really pulling you down and pulling like your hand down and like your sleeve and your collar, breaking your posture, it's hard to clear the feet off you, but then it's also hard to posture up to clear their grips off you too. So you just have to stop them from getting there in the first place. But yeah, Joey, you what do you think of collar and sleeve?
I like to play it. I do not like to have it played on me. I really despise being in a collar sleeve of someone who's like good with the guard. It's so frustrating. It's hard to pass. It's obnoxious. There's plenty of sweep options from it. There's submission options. It's a very precarious guard to pass because while trying to strip those grips and get the feet off your hips, it's very easy to like lean too far one way or like off balance yourself or just overcommit slightly in an attempt to get these annoying grips off, that you get swept or you get submitted because you get too eager to, like, you know, if I'm in collar sleeve and I'm really trying to like turn one direction to like strip a grip or remove it from my hip, you know, you get taken backwards. It's, you lean too far forward, balloon sweep. You lean too far back, tripod sweep. It's a very difficult guard to play against. Cons, can't do it in nogi. I mean, maybe you could. I don't know. I can't do it in nogi. I don't have that kind of grip strength to like go collar tie wrist grip guard. I don't think it would work well in nogi. So that'd be the biggest con. Yeah. Pros.
Yeah,
It's
I would
also
say,
like
sorry.
you said, really easy to transition from collar sleeve to like basically any other guard you want to play.
Exactly. I would say the equivalent in nogi is like a 2-on-1. So like their wrist and their tricep, but it's not nearly as controlling as the actual collar and sleeve. So it's like the equivalent, but like the bastard child of it. It's just it's not great. It's like yeah, not perfect, but it's not awful either. Like it can still be a great grips to take in nogi, but it's just not as powerful as the actual collar and sleeve itself. But yeah, like when I used to compete more, nothing would frustrate, or when I used to compete in general, nothing would frustrate me more than someone that just wants to hold me in collar and sleeve and just slow down the match like crazy. They're trying to get like lasso guard, maybe they do, or they're just trying to go omoplatas and stuff like that, and they're just not, you know, opening up whatsoever. They're just like slowing it down to like a crawl. And like my style, I like to go, you know, faster. If the way to beat me is to slow me down, so I always hated people that played like that, and not because it's cheap or anything like that. It's just like a good strategy against me, and just a very annoying strategy to deal with in general. So yeah, it's definitely a really good guard for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. There's so many options from it, and then when you're caught in it, it sucks so bad. But yeah, it's the guard that I need to work on the most. That is the most annoying to be stuck in for sure.
Yeah, man, 100%. That's one of the reasons I like nogi better, is because I don't like collar and sleeve and lasso. Like I don't like when people do it on me. I like to use it, you know. But let's talk about lasso. So lasso is very powerful. It's very hard to pass lasso guard because you need to get that lasso out of there, which can be very hard to do. But yeah, I would say a con of it is that obviously not applicable to nogi. Well, it is somewhat, but not so much. But also, there's not a ton of sweeps available, just in the sense of it's hard to surprise your opponent. Like there's the traditional lasso sweep, which works great. There's the omoplata, which works great. There's some like other cool stuff where you put your lasso grip like underneath their hips and then lift them up almost like a butterfly sweep. That's great. But again, it's like as a top player trying to pass, you can kind of see their options available and try to shut them down, knowing what they are. So I would say that's one con, and which can really slow it down. So like lasso can be a very slowing down of a game. It can really make jiu-jitsu boring, and yeah, but it's definitely great for sure.
Well, there's one sweep I hit all the time from there. I don't know the name of it, but I think you mentioned it, where you end up in a bicep slicer at the end.
Yeah, I just call that like a traditional lasso sweep. I don't think it really has a name, but yeah, that's another pro, is you can go right to the bicep slicer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about lasso, and it kind of goes for a couple of guards, is that I think they don't translate as well to the higher belts, not because the guard is inherently flawed, but because the skill level of the person passing is higher. Lasso's a really good example of this, in that, like you said, like the traditional lasso sweep, the bicep slicer, a lot of these things, they require you to have that angle. And good passers, once you lock on that lasso, are not going to go to that side. They're going to almost just refuse to play this game. They're going to stay super square, where the lasso is not particularly useful or effective when I'm square on with you. If I start angling away from the lasso, now it becomes extremely effective. So especially in the higher belt levels, like, you know, if I put a lasso on a white belt, they're probably going to move the wrong way, give me the angle, and I'm going to sweep them with it. But if I put a lasso on a seasoned black belt, they're just not going to engage in this guard with me. They're just going to stay square, and anytime I try and cut an angle, they'll re-square, and basically it becomes a battle of, can I force the angle I need before they figure out a way to just disentangle this lasso?
Yeah, it's almost like Lasso is so powerful that it slows down the match as a result, because people don't want to engage, don't want to make the wrong movement, place their weight wrong, give you the angle, and it's just too good. So it just slows it down that way. I think that's I think that's pretty much what it is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's pretty much all that needs to be said about Lasso. What's another guard that is interesting?
A spider guard, maybe. It's similar to Lasso.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll start the spider guard. I would say the biggest con of it is that there's not a lot available, just like the other stuff. I would say it's one of the guards that has the least amount available. And, there are some sweeps, but I don't think they work great against someone that actually knows how to position their weight and their body. And I think it's more of a defensive guard than it is an offensive guard. Like it can be difficult to pass spider, but it's also difficult for them to get offense going. But, I don't use it a lot. So maybe your opinion's different.
I think the biggest issue with Spider Guard for me is that to really control from Spider Guard, I need both hands and both feet committed to their arms, which really makes it difficult for me to do anything else. A lot like, some other guards that we kind of talked about earlier. Like if I'm playing Spider and I want to off balance you or I want to threaten things, I have to remove my control from one of these things. I mean, I can't do a tripod sweep from the spider with my feet in the bicep. I have to take a foot off the bicep, which means I'm now giving up my control to start attacking. That's where, you good passers, as soon as you remove that control, they're going to start passing because I don't have spider guard. And you can't instantly go from foot on the bicep to foot on the hip or foot on the ankle, wherever you want to go with it. There's a time in between, and good passers will use that time to really push their advantage where you don't have a control. So it's a guard that does offer good control, but I think it's almost too much commitment to control that you lose your ability to be offensive.
Yeah, I think it goes in line with what we said about close guard, where it's control first, and then you need to transition your grips to actually get offense going. And like reinforced grips are very similar and basically the same thing as like 2-on-1s. So when you're in spider, you have two of your limbs dedicated to one of their limbs and two of your other limbs dedicated to their other limb. So it's like a lot of control, but you need to give up that control to actually go for something. Like if you go for a triangle, you need to transition your grips. But if they're holding on tight to your gi, then you can't really lift up your hips enough because they're going to keep you down. So yeah, it's like great for defense, but not my favorite for offense for sure. But it's been an hour, so maybe we'll do part 2 next week. Let us know if you want us to do part 2 and what guards you want us to go over, or if you want us to revisit any other ones, what we did cover, and go even more in depth. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the episode, and thank you guys for sticking around until the end of the podcast. If you guys are still here, please leave a comment or a fist bump, and we'll see you guys next time.